Living under our homeowners association felt like a constant battle, and all traced back to one person, Brenda, the unofficial monarch of the HOA board. For reasons I'll never fully understand, my house became her favorite project. If my lawn grew a fraction of an inch too tall, I'd get a notice. If a single weed dared to poke to my flower bed, there was another warning. If my trash bins lingered at the curb 5 minutes past pickup time, another fine showed up in my mailbox. Week after week, it was the same routine: citations, penalties, and lectures. It wore me down. I tried talking to her, explaining that I worked long hours and maintained my property as best I could. She would just flash a tight smile and remind me that rules are rules. The breaking point came when she fixated on my mailbox. It was perfectly ordinary and fully functional, but Brenda suddenly declared it offensive to the neighborhood's aesthetic. She insisted I replace it with a specific model she approved, a ridiculously overpriced version that cost more than $500. I refused outright. I wasn't about to spend that kind of money because she didn't like the look of mine. That's when the weekly fines began. $50 every 7 days for a non-compliant mailbox. After a few months, the total had ballooned into a serious sum built entirely on nonsense. I realized I couldn't keep absorbing the hits. So I did what any fed-up homeowner might do. I sued the HOA. I organized every violation letter, every fine notice, photos proving my mailbox was in perfectly good condition, and records of my attempts to resolve things reasonably. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about pushing back against someone who had intimidated half the neighborhood. The case dragged on for months, draining and stressful. Brenda and the HOA fought aggressively, portraying me as some rebellious troublemaker who simply refused to comply with community standards. Their attorney was polished and confident, but I had documentation and facts. Finally, our day in court arrived. Brenda showed up wearing her usual smug expression, clearly anticipating victory. The judge listened carefully as the HOA's lawyer claimed I was deliberately ignoring aesthetic guidelines. When it was my turn, I calmly laid out the evidence. I presented photos of my mailbox, which the judge agreed looked entirely ordinary. I pointed to the HOA bylaws, which mentioned nothing about mandatory mailbox models, only that they must be maintained in good repair. Then I handed over the stack of fines. The judge was unimpressed with the HOA's behavior. He described their enforcement as arbitrary and unreasonable. He ruled completely in my favor and voided every fine. But that wasn't the end. While reviewing the HOA's own documentation, the judge noticed a clause stating that mailboxes must clearly display house numbers for emergency responders. My address was visible on the side, but not the front, so he issued a precise directive. I was to place house number stickers on the front of the mailbox, specifically 3-inch, weatherproof reflective numbers. I left that courtroom feeling triumphant. I drove straight to the hardware store and selected the loudest, most obnoxious neon green reflective numbers I could find. They were absolutely hideous and absolutely perfect. I stuck them boldly on the front of my black metal mailbox. They glowed at night, like a radioactive warning sign. This wasn't mere compliance. This was malicious compliance. The next morning, I stepped outside and saw the numbers were gone, peeled clean off. I didn't need to guess who had done it. I checked my security camera footage, and there she was, Brenda, creeping onto my property under cover of darkness and scraping them away. She probably thought she'd scored another quiet win. Instead, she walked straight into disaster. I saved the footage and skipped any confrontation. Instead, I filed a motion for contempt of court, attaching the crystal-clear video of Brenda vandalizing my mailbox and defying a direct judicial order. The judge was livid. Brenda was summoned back to court, and this time her confidence had vanished. The judge played the footage in front of everyone. He reprimanded her for disrespecting both the law and the authority of the court. He found her in contempt and imposed a hefty fine payable to me, covering damages and legal costs. Then came the best part. The judge ordered the numbers replaced. But this time, they would be professionally installed using permanent, industrial-strength adhesive to prevent tampering, and the HOA was required to cover the entire cost. He also issued a restraining order barring Brenda from ever stepping onto my property again. Her expression said everything: humiliation, defeat, disbelief. In the weeks that followed, the HOA hired a professional installer. Soon, my mailbox sported an even larger, brighter, more aggressively neon set of numbers. They weren't going anywhere. Brenda resigned from the board shortly afterward, stepping down under a cloud of embarrassment. The neighborhood felt lighter almost overnight. My mailbox became something of a local legend, a reminder that even an ordinary homeowner can stand up to a bully and win. Every time I pull into my driveway and see those brilliantly ugly numbers shining back at me, I smile. They're more than digits. They're a trophy. If you ever find yourself facing an HOA nightmare, remember this. Know your rights, document everything, and don't be afraid to push back. Sometimes the sweetest victories come wrapped in the loudest colors. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of well-earned revenge.